Hello and welcome to another Dragonstorm Studios video. And today we're going to be tackling three things. We're going to be talking about Rand AlThor, the main character from the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. We're going to be talking about birch trees, and we're going to talk about the Amazon Prime series, streaming service series that's coming out this year, I hope anyways, and some of the expectations and hopes that we have for it. So you can see I've started here with the shape of a tree. It's got a bit of a kind of squiggly outer shape to it, and that's just to show that flaky sort of bark that the birch tree has. And whereas in the Haley Steinfeld video, where all of our lines went up and down vertically, in a birch bark, most of the lines are going to be more horizontal. So where the tree is kind of below our field of vision, they're going to be kind of downward, following the circumference of the tree. And where we get above the eye line of our subject, it's going to start curving upwards. And we could easily mathematically measure these out, but I think because nature does have imperfections and does have variety to it, we can afford not to worry too much about the actual shape and more about just getting the impression of that roundedness there. And birch bark has what I like to call eyes. They're kind of like more rounded sort of shapes here and there in them, almost like knots in the tree, I suppose. In fact, they actually might be knots, but because they are horizontal, they kind of remind me of like eye shapes. And they are very, very dark as well. So we're going to throw a couple of those in just here and there to add some variety to the work as well. Because birch trees are white, we're going to have very little other details there really. We are, however, going to create some shading. And in my picture here, you can see I've got some shadows being cast all over the place. So we're going to just shade both sides just a bit more on the left, however. Only because that's where I figure the main light source is in the picture. So we're just going to shade a little bit here and a little bit, because it is rounded. We want to shade both sides, but just a little bit on the right, where the shading maybe isn't quite as stark. I figure in the picture I've got light source coming from the top as well, which is why you've got such a deep shadow here beneath the chin and jaw, just because that's going to be the main light source, but you've got another one maybe here on the left. And when dealing with multiple light sources, you've got a lot of freedom as an artist to decide how you want it to look. So I'll go to my blending stomp, which is that stick of paper that's been rolled into a large mass. And I'm just going to go over to blend in, to smudge up some of my shading and make it a little bit more distinct on the edges here. All right. That's looking pretty good. So Rand AlThor, in case you don't know, is the main character from the Wheel of Time series. It's a 14-book series, which I recently just finished, which I love. It's such a great read, but it is a lengthy one. It took me several months. I guess about 8 months to get through the thing. That's not reading, every single minute of the day. Obviously, I'm also a bit of a slower reader, but it was just wonderful, and it made me think about drawing maybe other characters as well. And if you want to see other characters from that series, please let me know in the comments below. So the series on Amazon is going to be hopefully really good. I'm hoping if the production value is anything like, let's say, The Boys, then it's going to look amazing. But there's so many ways they could go about making that series. I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out. So Josh Stradowski is the actor who's going to be playing Rand AlThor. So I've tried to draw him as the face there. And I've always thought of Rand as being a little more kind of shaggy haired. Like he's meant to be portrayed as, I think, 18 when the books begin. And I just imagine this shaggy haired youth. So I kind of drew the hair like that. I'm not 100% sure about how it turned out though. I don't know, I'm not convinced. It's not my best portrait for sure. But I also decided to try a couple other things, which I've never done before, which again, I'm kind of unsure about. The one is the sword. So this is Calendar, and the sword is a crystal sword. The sword's not a sword in the book. And so as a result, I tried to give it this kind of like faceted kind of look. And I also tried to make it see-through so the clothing is a bit warped all the different lines and folds are warped through the sword. And I'm not sure if that worked out so well. The other thing I tried to get in the work was the idea of the embroidery in the clothing. And a lot of the nobles, a lot of the upper class characters in the novels wear more elaborate clothes, and embroidery is one way of showing that. And I don't know, the idea in my head worked, and I think the version on paper didn't quite get there. And I might have to experiment with that a little bit more. I've never actually really drawn fabrics and embroidery, so it'll be an interesting challenge in the future for me to try and get some more of that in there. I don't know. I'm not convinced. It's not, like I said, not my best work. So we'll kind of chop it up to an experiment, an experience, and I don't know. It's looking all right. It's looking okay. I also toyed with that hair quite a bit. It went through quite a lot of variations, and again, I'm not 100% sure if it really turned out in an optimum kind of way. I think the face, I think the portrait looks really good. I'm happy with the way Josh Radowski looks, but I'm not sure if the hair really suits him. I'm not sure if that really works for me there. So let me know in the comments what you think, especially if you are a fan of the books. I'd love to hear your take and your thoughts about my decision-making process here. There are a lot of questions about the series coming up still too, so I wasn't sure what he would look like. A lot of guesswork on my part here. And I'm looking forward, though, to seeing how that series turns out. I'm also looking forward to seeing how the casting turns out. I don't know a lot of the cast members at all, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they interpret the characters, although I do have some questions. I've got some concerns, but we'll see. I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic about how things turn out. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please feel free to give it a like, maybe subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content, and have yourselves a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.